Hey there everybody, and welcome to a new week of RPG Horror Story Cringe with D&D Doge. In today's episode, we have a tale about a self-proclaimed old-school dungeon master running a game for a paid Dungeons & Dragons event, only to come up short and a bit inappropriate. A story about a dungeon master that benches a player for being a bard, and much more. So, with the preamble out of the way, let's get right into the cringe. DM decides to learn Module for the first time at the session for a paid event, and allows ERP with kids at the other table. By Reddit user, Odandy. Context: the event is a partnership with a local game shop and the movie theater chain near me. The game shop had 3 DMs run a Keys from the Golden Vault session at the theater. When the games were over, we'd then watch the new D&D movie. The problem person here was the DM, who was learning the module in real time and allowed ERP in front of children. So, I'm a new player in this situation, and was extremely excited for the event. The DM was an older guy who's been DMing since the 70s. His words. Awesome. A real D&D vet running my game sounds amazing. His years of experience and knowledge of the game means that we should have a blast. Oh, he also said, "They told me this module should only take a couple hours, so I'm gonna have to stretch this out." The first 2 hours of this session included exactly 1 roll from a player, and no decision making from the players at all. These 2 hours consisted of this DM reading the module in front of us, and any question we asked meant him spending literally 5 minutes each browsing the module for an answer to simple questions like, "What's this room for?" This happened every single time someone asked a basic question about the heist. By the way, this is a heist game, and the first 2 hours were us not even being at the prison we were supposed to be doing the heist at. We spent 2 hours waiting for the DM to browse the module for answers to basic questions, and us making no rolls, no decisions, no progress. We did, however, get to experience really weird and unasked for ERP. This was a family event. Each table, with the exception of mine, had children at it. The DM decided that we were going to a brothel, not our decision by the way, before the heist because, sex. He described in detail the races and looks of the girls of the night that he was attempting to set us up with. 2 people were lightheartedly engaging, but I was very clearly uncomfortable. He just kept making weird BDSM fetish jokes and like, "There's kids at the table 2 feet from us, dude." The last half of the session was us as players at a breaking point. The prisoner we were trying to break out didn't want to go with us after hours of planning and setting this up, so we just kinda laughed about that. And I cast Hold Person on the prisoner every round, as I needed to get the DM to stop hindering us. Everyone, especially the players across from me, were visibly annoyed the entire time, and nobody was having a good time. I want to make it clear that this DM couldn't even quickly come up with basic guard stats in less than a 5-minute time span. He had the physical monster manual with him, and he spent the majority of the 4.5-hour session talking at us about the lore that didn't matter, or reading through a module that he didn't prepare for in a paid event. As players, I estimate that out of the 4.5 hours, we spent 1.5 hours actually doing something. Please, never do this to people. Be prepared for your games, and for the love of God, don't ERP with kids around. Well, that is a bit BS to go to a D&D event you paid for, only to have the DM dilly-dally and run a module for the first time. If you are running a game for people that paid for it, you really should have everything ready to go and a decent amount of knowledge about said module, so that it would be a streamlined experience for the players. Now, OP did later state that he didn't complain about it in the moment out of not wanting things to be awkward, and I can kinda understand that. But at the same time, if you paid for it, I feel that something should have been said after like the first hour of not getting anywhere in the game. Though they did say that they contacted the event organizer after the event, since they weren't there at the time. Though I do have to say that if that person organized the whole thing, then they should have probably been there to oversee it. Overall, This whole thing just sounded like a mess. But at least OP got to see Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I can't wait to see it myself, as I've been hearing good things about it. But let's move on. I Know What I'm Doing by Reddit user Goliath Craft. So, after playing this campaign for 1.5 years, your new player character with a huge backstory happens to have zero connection or motivation to do anything connected with the story so far, and would actually rather do their own thing, but can't because of amnesia. But instead of amnesia driving them to join the party, you want to play them like they forget basic concepts of existence, like, what is bread? Making it a complete slog with nobody knowing how to interact, or what to do with your new player character? No, not happening. We can sit down and figure something out, but that player character is not joining the game in this state. Or so I wish I would have responded like that. Instead, I sheepishly trusted a player who had shown in the past that they couldn't be trusted with things like this, simply because they said, "I know what I'm doing." That interaction taught me to say no when things didn't work for me, and has improved my games a ton, simply by addressing issues like an adult, not talking around it, and having those uncomfortable talks when needed. So, player who didn't actually know what they were doing, thank you for teaching me a valuable lesson. Yeah, that sounds like that could get a bit tedious. Having to roleplay with someone that doesn't know how to do basic human functions. That isn't quite how amnesia works. Though, at least OP took that as a lesson on how to put your foot down when you don't want to approve something for a game. Though, I will admit, I am a bit disappointed that we didn't get to hear how that player actually played that character. Though, seeing how OP made this post, I imagine that it was a dumpster fire. Let's move on. Keep Getting Put on the Bench. What Am I Doing Wrong? By Reddit user PrintShop Princess. So, my DM keeps fridging me, in a sense. Over the course of a 3-year campaign, I've been playing an illusionist bard. He was pretty tolerable at first, of my consistent use of illusions and charisma-related skills to work through problems non-combatively. At about the 1-year mark, though, it seemed like every illusion was questioned, every deception challenged, etc. While I haven't been outright killed, my character has been captured and removed several times, despite successful checks. Despite hiding behind an illusion, like a barrel in a room of barrels, my barrel gets checked as being suspicious. This type of thing has happened several times to railroad the encounter that he had planned. Both my character in-game and out-of-game doesn't want to fight. I've pretty much got my bag of bard and illusion tricks, and that's it, beyond mediocre combat stats. But for playing my character this way, it seems like I get punished and targeted. Several of these led to me being discovered, captured, and then sitting out several sessions until Deus Ex Machina brings me back, only for it to happen again a few sessions later. Each time, I'm captured so dramatically that it'd be suicide for the party to attempt to rescue me. I've been imprisoned by a lich after attempting to negotiate safe passage for our party, captured by a baron for trying to convince him to marshal to our cause, and twice captured by enemies in a dungeon for trying to rescue my party. This has led to me being told to sit out for almost 10 months total in real life of the campaign. Other players write me, saying that they wish that I'd get brought back, but it feels like my DM just can't figure out how to deal with my build, and approaches it so I just get told to sit out so that he can run his big encounters without me mucking things up. We're about to finish the campaign, but I've been told to sit out unless the characters find me in the final dungeon, of which they've been told I'm dead. Is my DM unfairly targeting me, or am I playing my build wrong? In a lot of these cases, I feel like I get pinned between situations that require suicidal combat or trying to deceive my way out. The problem is, it's been playing like a choose-your-own-adventure, where all of the decisions are the bad one. Edit. A lot of you have been very thoughtful in your comments. I keep getting comments asking about if I talked with the DM. And yes, but I'm just told to wait. The party has also mentioned things to the DM, but is basically told the same thing. Others asked if I was a pacifist. No, I am just low HP and low AC. Combat isn't my forte, so I try to avoid it when I can wield illusions and buffs when I get forced into it. I have even initiated combat in some cases. Ultimately, a lot of y'all made some great points. It all seemed frustrating but tolerable when I looked at it one session at a time, but y'all helped me take a step back to realize how bad it really was. This isn't even about a game, it's just been playing me to access my game group. Out of politeness, I plan on letting them finish the 3 to 4 sessions left, but then only having games I DM hosted at my place. Thank you all. Whoa, wait a minute. All this bullcrap was happening at OP's house? They were the host for the rest of the players. Holy hell, talk about that dungeon master being brazen as hell. OP was just playing their bard how bards are usually played, trying to talk their way out of trouble, being low HP and AC, but mainly supporting during combat. And the DM thought that it would be alright to constantly come up with ways to exclude OP from the game for multiple sessions when they were playing at OP's house? That is complete and utter BS. My advice to OP would be to stand up for yourself more. That DM just probably saw you as a pushover, so that is exactly what they did and kept on doing. And that DM isn't in any way what I would call a friend. Hell, I'd be so salty about that treatment that I would just kick them out permanently. Seriously, what a dickhead. Hopefully, things go well for OP after that campaign is over and done with, and the games that they DM will most definitely be way better than anything that douchebag of a DM has ever done. But before we move on, I know I can sometimes sound like a broken record when I ask y'all to like, comment, subscribe, and even share the video, but it really does go a long way to help smaller channels like this one grow. So I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and that I can earn those things today. And hey, kitties always help, right? But with that said, let's move on to the next one. DM tricked group into killing a group of kids in self-defense. By Reddit user ManaChicken4G. This happened a few years back, so I'ma try to remember all the details. We were getting ready for a Christmas event in Mysteria. The city was holding a festival with various competitions, and depending on what place you got, your group was awarded tickets that you could exchange for common and uncommon magic items. And some were exclusive to this event and couldn't be gotten elsewhere. Day 1 was going to be a massive snowball fight. We wanted to check out the field so we could plan out where we were going to be and how we move forward, but we were told that we weren't allowed in the field itself, but we could get a look from a distance, as it was a large field. This was to prevent any cheating. So we make the trip to the field, when all of a sudden, a figure in the distance, on the field itself, cast Ice Storm on us. This would have outright killed one of the NPC buddies that we had with us, but one of the party members countered that. None of us remembered the 60-foot rule at the time. So this initiated combat. We couldn't see who was attacking us because they were attacking from high up and would just pop out to attack and then go back into cover. But it was definitely multiple people attacking us. So we lobbed AoE spells up there, and the combat ended pretty quickly. Well, when we managed to climb up there to see who it was, we found out that it was a group of kids. Apparently, they had gone up there to cheat during the event by doing some prep. The group had decided to keep everything quiet because there were no witnesses, and people tend to freak out when you admit to killing a bunch of kids, even if it was in self-defense. The next day, apparently people were all talking about the massacre that a group of adventurers had committed, and that there was video evidence of the thing taking place via a magic crystal ball. Except the quote-unquote video conveniently left out the first part where they attacked first, and some of the parents were super rich, so they were able to pay to have their kids revived. And of course, they were telling everyone that they didn't do anything wrong. So now, we were wanted for murder. I wanted to clear our names by turning ourselves in exchange for a fair trial, where everyone involved was testifying under a zone of truth. Pretty straightforward. So, me and one other disguised ourselves magically and pretended to be the lawyers of our characters so that we could make out a deal in writing. So we walked up and explained the situation. Well, apparently, the cops had a friendly beholder working for them, which took away our magic disguises, and we were locked up. I said that's fine and we can still make this work. We're just gonna spend some downtime waiting for the trial. Well, while we were in prison, the DM had another NPC that we knew break us out of prison by killing some of the guards and starting a riot. So at this point, there was nothing we could do because they were going to blame us for just being involved. So we ran, met up with the rest of the group, and plane shifted out of there. The DM later told us that we weren't going to get a trial and that the prison was meant to keep us there forever because the higher-ups only cared about the rich people's word over ours. Myself and the other guy that was imprisoned also had all our magic items and gold taken, and there was no way of getting them back. Though, honestly, we should have left that with the party before we attempted to disguise ourselves, so I will admit fault on that part. My question for y'all is this the absolute worst case of railroading and DM bullcrap that y'all have ever seen? Or am I being the a-hole here for complaining? I mean, this just completely ruined the game for everyone involved, and the entire group left the Discord server after that and started our own group. A buddy and I still refuse to go to Mysteria and other campaigns because of our immense wanting to blow the place up. Is there anything that we did wrong here? While I don't think it's the worst case of it that I've read about, I would say that does sound a bit railroady. That whole situation with being attacked by people that the party can't see. Like OP said, the attack would have killed one of the NPCs that the party was traveling with. Could the party have retreated? Sure, but I don't think retaliation is off the table at that point. It sounds like that encounter was designed to only end in a way that wouldn't be in the favor of the party. And it seems like the DM at that point was coming up with any reason possible to ensure that any solution that the party came up with wouldn't work. Like the Beholder Cop, and the random NPC breaking the players out of the dungeon and killing guards in the process. So it sounds like the DM wanted the end goal of the party being wanted criminals, and did everything in his power to ensure that happened. And I don't think OP is in the wrong for feeling a bit peeved because of it. Though, what do you guys think? Let's move on. Party gets mad at me because they decide to kill an unarmed teenage boy, despite warnings. By Reddit user Manuel M4N. This happened recently in a Traveler campaign. A group of travelers go to a small system that has declared unilateral independence from the Third Empire. The local duke is who decided this. The group is tasked with assaulting a relatively undefended comm center in orbit. I have made it clear that this war has gone on for 10 years already, and that the separatists are at their wits' end, with little resources and no one backing them up. So, the party goes in, and encounters a bit of resistance. They turn a corner of the station, only to find a single soldier, huddled up on the ground against a wall, shakily aiming a gun at them. I'm in the middle of describing how this guy looks unusually small, with a uniform 3 or 4 sizes too big, when the group attacks. They roll initiative. We're not using simultaneous actions yet, because I haven't fully read the companion. The guy luckily goes first. He tries to shoot, but the weapon is empty, and I described how he throws it away, and covers his face with his hands. Next up is the Marine veteran, who proceeds to shoot straight into this guy's heart. Boom, he's dead. When they get closer, I finally finish my description. This soldier looks like a 12 to 13-year-old boy. The group gets mad at me for not telling them, but I tell them I was doing exactly that when they interrupted me for combat, and they still decided to shoot an unarmed combatant who was covering their face in fear. I further explained that my idea was that the Separatists are becoming so desperate that they're using levies of anyone who can barely hold a gun and point. A bit of back and forth later, they accused me of setting them up, while I gave them plenty of opportunity. And before you ask, yes, I had explained to them how the Traveler setting is. Edit. One thing I may have left out. As I said, the party had encountered a bit of resistance. What I meant by that is that they had encountered another group of conscripts who had posed little to no threat because they barely knew how to hold a gun, let alone take cover or have any sort of tactical sense. One of the characters even mentioned that it seemed like they were just throwing themselves at us. Yeah, I'd say that group getting mad and saying that OP set them up is a bit of a cope. OP obviously was in the middle of describing the situation when the group interrupted OP and said that they were just going to attack. Though, in the future, it may be best for when this type of thing happens and the party is a tad bit overzealous, to maybe stop them, tell them to let you finish, and then give them the opportunity to make a decision on what to do. But I do have to say, even when OP stated that the gun was empty and the kid posed no threat, that one player still decided to attack, and that is completely on that player at that point, not OP. But that is all the time we have for today. As always, y'all are appreciated, and I hope your games remain horror story free. Until next time.